everyone, welcome back to Quilt 101. I am Emily and today I am going to teach you how to make this gorgeous gingham tree skirt for your Christmas tree. Look how beautiful that is. This kit comes completely pre-cut, includes backing and binding, and comes in either your choice of gray or red. They're absolutely beautiful. Let's go get started on how to make this. So here's what comes in the tree skirt pre-cut quilt kits. So you have all the fabrics for the top. So you have the dark, medium, and light colors. You also get backing and binding. And what is so nice about this backing is that it is extra wide fabric. So you don't have to piece anything together. It comes to the width that you need, which is just makes, you know, the process so much easier. This kit also comes with a paper pattern that has all of the directions on it. It also comes with this template. So this is what you will use whenever you go to trim out the hole in the center of the tree skirt that goes around like the trunk of your Christmas tree. So we'll just kind of put this aside until we need it. But for now, let's go ahead and get started on this tree skirt. So this tree skirt is pieced the exact same way a normal quilt is pieced together. So I already went through and I pieced together the top and I basted it and quilted it. And look how cute this quilting is. I just did like a cross hatch and oh my gosh, especially after you wash it, I just think it's gonna look so beautiful. The main difference with piecing this top together as opposed to another top is that you don't have the same number of blocks going each way. You can see on the top we only have 6. The second row we have 8 blocks. And then on the third going down here, we have 10. And the reason we do that is because we're actually going to go through and we're going to cut the corners off of it. And so it kind of gives the tree skirt kind of like an octagonal. I don't know what the right word is, but it gives an angle. So here's a template that's going to come in your pattern, and you'll kind of use this to follow along whenever you're piecing the top together. And so like for row 1, you're going to start with the medium, dark, medium. Row 2, you have like the medium, light. So it does change up a little bit this way. So just use this diagram to pay attention to what each block or what each row, what fabrics are in each row. And then I just want to give you a closer look on this quilting because I love the way it turned out. How fun is that? And then here is the backing with the gray. I love this pop of red. You won't see it whenever the skirt is around your tree, but whenever, I don't know, it's just like a fun little pop. I love little surprises like that. Now I apologize in advance for not taking you step by step on how to piece together the top and how to baste it and quilt it. This video is already going to be really long as it is, and I have a lot of other tutorials that take you step by step on all of those other steps. So check back to those if you have any questions on how to chain piece or baste or quilt. We have other videos that cover that. But for now, since we have the top done, we're going to go through, we're going to mark the hole to where we need to cut for the center of the quilt, and that hole is what is going to go over the your tree, and then we're going to cut a little slit so that you can wrap it. The first step that we're going to do is we're going to square up the quilt. Now I have done squaring up tutorials and videos before, so I'm not going to go super in depth, but basically we're just going to go around and trim it up. Make sure it is all nice and square. And then the trickiest part is these edges. So I will show you that in a second. Okay, we are at one of the edges, and I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see what I am doing. So we're going to trim this off so it goes like this at an angle. Let me line this all up for you. And we're not going to trim, so what we're going to do, sorry, I'm very tongue-tied and my mind is like all over the place today. I apologize. So hopefully I can get my thoughts out nice and clear for you. So we have the points right here. Do you see that? Like where the seams intersect? So we're going to take the ruler and we're going to put those corners at the 1/4 inch mark. And the reason we put it at a 1/4 inch is because that gives us a seam allowance for our binding. So whenever we put our binding on, it will turn over and it'll hit right there at the point, and it'll just look really nice and clean. So I can show you it again on another side. So here's another corner. So I'm going to take the ruler, I have the points right here, and I'm going to put those at 1/4 inch. Just right here on my ruler, it's hitting at 1/4 inch. And so now let me just readjust that, there we go. I'm just going to cut straight along. And there is our edge. I've pulled you back out so you can just watch me cut the quilt. I'm just going to go around the entire thing and square it all up and trim off those corners. This is where the quilt really starts to come to life because you can see the shape of it coming together, and it just starts getting really, really exciting at this point. So I'm just going to keep going. Next, we're just going to take this circle template that was included in your kit, and we're going to take some just normal household scissors. Do not use your fabric scissors or else you will dull them out. So, woo! Oh my gosh, you guys, did you see that? Obviously you did. The tripod fell on me, but we caught the camera, so we're good. So I'm just going to take the scissors and I'm just going to cut around the circle, just using that circle as a guide. It doesn't have to be perfect. But this just kind of gives us a nice little guide to use on the tree skirt. Just a heads up, so this hole is 4.5 inches that we're going to have in the center of the tree skirt. I find that this size works perfectly for me and my tree. However, if you want to have it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller, adjust it to whatever size you would like. But I do find that this 4.5 inch circle it fits most trees. Next, you're just going to find the very center of your tree skirt, which mine happens to be right here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these lines and we're going to put them right here on those seams. And then we're just going to make sure that it's all nice and even, which that looks pretty good to me. And then I'm just going to take, this is my friction pen. These are my favorite. They're heat erasable, but you can use, we're going to cut on this line. So, I mean, you can use a normal, like a pencil. But I mean, it's always nice to use something that's meant for fabric. So this camera is right in my face, so it's a little bit hard for me to do this, but I'll do my best. So I'm just tracing around the circle. And there we go. And so now we're going to go to the cutting table and we're going to make that slit and trim around the circle. This next step is mentally the hardest for me because you have this like perfect quilt and you're going to cut in the middle of it and it just does not seem right at all. But I promise you, for this tree skirt, it is right. It just, you know, you got to do what you got to do. So I have, the circle is up here. So that's where we are going to cut the hole. But right now we need to make the slit. So we have this center seam right here that goes down the quilt. And we're going to cut 1/8 of an inch on each side, which is the tiniest little nook. Like if you can look at the ruler, 1/8 is that tiny little nook. It's actually faded. Let's put it like right here. That tiny little one. So there's a 1/4 inch, there's 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to take the seam and use that as a guide. And we're just going to line it up with the 1/8 cut on the ruler. And we're just going to cut it all the way up into the center. And then we're going to do the same thing on the other side, except I hate cutting it this way. I'm actually going to rotate. I am weird. I cut my thumb once using a rotary cutter and it was by me like cutting backwards. So I have a fear, I've had a fear ever since of cutting it that way. So I just play it safe and rotate the fabric around. Okay, so I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take that other side, line it up with the 1/8 mark. Okay. And if this isn't perfect, this is what is in the back of your tree. So odds are you will never see it. So you can see right here, the skirt now has a slit in it. And I have cut like into the circle. So I'll pull you in closer so you can see the circle. So I cut the slits and so they go in. And so that way it gives me an easy way to go through. I'm just going to take a look at these little itty bitty scissors. They're so cute. I did this before with like my mega 8-inch shears, and they're a little bit too big. So I'm just going to go in with these little itty bitty scissors and just cut right around that line that we traced to create the hole. Okay, here we go. Look, this looks like a tadpole, a sperm. Whatever it looks like to you, this you can now discard because we have the hole for the tree skirt and we have the slit. The next step is to bind it. Now binding, I was originally a little bit nervous because I wasn't quite sure how binding was going to be for this tree skirt, but it's actually like the exact same process of binding a normal quilt. The only difference is that you're working with some different angles. With a normal quilt that's a square, you're working with 45-degree cuts or 90-degree cuts. 90-degree cuts, you guys. I told you my brain is on the fritz today. But so I will show you kind of how to put the binding on for the corners that are not quite a right angle. But I promise you it is not bad. So same as normal, we're going to start, we are machine binding. If you want a tutorial on how to do this, we have a really good one on our YouTube and Instagram highlights. But to machine bind, we're going to start on the back and push this in. Okay. And we're just going to sew the binding on to the back side first. Okay, so I'm coming up to a corner. So we're going to stop a 1/4 inch before we get to the edge. We're going to pivot the fabric. And so we want to make sure that the edge of the quilt lines up with the sewing foot. Do you see that? And so now we're going to put the needle up, and then we're going to take this binding and we're going to fold it up, and so it's parallel with the quilt, and then we're going to fold it back down so it matches that angle. So now that we have that angle all nice, we're going to go back and we're going to top stitch, and then we're going to continue down. So I will show you that again when I get to the next corner. Okay, I'm coming up to the next corner again. So I'm just going to keep sewing till I get to about a 1/4 inch away from the edge. Going to pivot the quilt so this lines up with the sewing foot. Raise the needle, pull it out, and we're going to take the binding. We're going to fold it, and so it goes straight along with the quilt, and then we are going to fold it back down on top of each other. And this is going to give us the right angle. So whenever we go to fold the binding over at the top, it works out perfectly. Okay, so now I'm going to continue sewing, and that's just how you sew around the edges. Not too bad. I am at the part now where I am sewing up the slit in the back of the tree skirt, and I am just coming up to, you can see right here, that is the hole, and it's the exact same process. So you're just going to sew up straight, Okay, and I'm getting to that edge, so same thing, stop about 1/4 of an inch before, rotate. Okay, so let me get this started. So just go nice and, oh, my string just broke. I'll be right back. If it's not the thread breaking, it's the bobbin running out. You always have something. So the biggest trick is to go really slow, and you just work with, I mean, sometimes it's just 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch at a time. Then as you go around the curve, you are going to just kind of move the bobbin along with it. And I kind of like adjust the curve so it gets a little straighter when you go to stitch around it. Do you see how I'm doing that? So yeah, just take it nice and slow. Let's see. It shouldn't bunch up too much on you. All right, we just finished the hardest part of the quilt. You can see it's kind of, I don't know if you can see back there. It's whenever you stitch it, you just go and you attach it, fold it over to the other side, and sew on the top as you normally would. So we're just gonna finish sewing the binding onto the back, and then I will be back. I am just finishing up the binding by folding it to the top and stitching it on, and I'm coming up to a corner, so I want to show you what I do so you get nice crisp corners. So it's very similar to how you normally do it. So I'm just going to move up so till I get about 1 inch or 2 away, and then I love my seam ripper whenever I do binding. It is just the perfect little tool. So we're going to make sure that the fabric is straight and that it lines up with the edge of the quilt underneath. And so now this is where your tool comes in, because we're going to use this, kind of press it down, make a little bit of a crease, and then we're just going to fold this up until it meets perfectly in the middle. Right there. And then we're just I use my seam ripper to hold it down. We're just gonna stitch very slowly. And then I'm just gonna look through the little window of my foot right here. And then as soon as I get 1 stitch, there we go, on top of the part that we folded over, I am going to rotate. Whoops, sorry. Shaky camera. And then I'm gonna go back down the other way. So I will, let me trim this and I can show you what it looks like. So here we go. We have the nice corner. And here's the finished tree skirt. The binding is all on, and it is officially ready to put under the tree. Look how beautiful this tree skirt turned out. I love, 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 love this gray gingham. It's a very like farmhouse chic. It's gonna look so pretty underneath like your green tree, and I love the red color as well for a more traditional Christmas vibe. So I'm gonna go put this under the tree. I have got it set up upstairs, and I will show you what it looks like underneath the tree. So here's what it looks like underneath the Christmas tree. Look how beautiful it looks. I have a really big tree, and this skirt looks perfect underneath it. It's 50 inches wide whenever it's all done, and it just looks so good nestled under the tree. Just need some ornaments so my tree can have a little bit more oomph to it, but I love the way the tree skirt looks. It is definitely a keeper. That's it. I hope you guys loved watching how to make this gingham tree skirt. These pre-cut kits are available today over at quilt101.com, so go check them out. Purchase one, make one, and make sure to tag us on Instagram at quilt101 so we can see what your tree skirt looks like when it's all done underneath your tree. Have a good day.